I'm going to talk about a case study where we introduced Scrum at scale at a group company in order to rescue from loss of their market share. Let's start with looking at the company structure and also the industry conditions. We had two group companies working together in this case. One of them is responsible for developing software, and the other one is responsible for providing services with the developed software of the other company. And the responsibility of the second business company includes sales, establishment of initial setup, and support activities. So these are two companies working together, and both companies have approximately 380 employees in total. And they are the sector leaders in Turkey for 10 years. And things were getting worse for this company for last 2 years due to some huge disruptions, and they started to lose market share. And also for the last year, pandemic had a big effect on this market since they are operating at hotel and restaurant sectors, and they are developing some management applications at restaurant sectors. Pandemic had a huge effect, and it really disrupted these sectors. So they provide end-to-end solutions like making online reservations and other features that are required to manage a whole hotel or a restaurant. So these big changes in the market conditions required an adaptation. And also, during the last 4 years, there were some startups occurred in this market which can adapt these changes more rapidly. While these companies was experiencing latencies about decision making and also experiencing the lack of autonomy, and all of these conditions combined caused a loss of market share of these companies. As a result, the executive management understood that they had to be more agile, and they decided to transform the entire company, and that's why they connected us. We started with creating a vision for this company, and also we created a vision for the transformation itself. We worked on this with the executive management, and we organized the workshop in order to create these visions, and a vision for the team level and the organizational agility are created within this workshop. The vision emphasized increasing the autonomy of at team level, and also understanding the new needs of customers and the requirements of the customers after the pandemic. That's why they emphasized these two main concepts at different levels. And we created a assessment session in order to understand the current situation, and we organized the workshop for this purpose. And then the outcome of this workshop was illustrated by a heat map that you can see on the slide. And it showed us that the important point of this assessment was the new business development in terms of new normal with the pandemic and the leadership style. And the last point was the management of the key customers to improve the company's productivity. Also, we gathered more data with some other surveys and one-to-one meetings, and also some workshops in order to understand the current situation of the companies. Then we created a brief report. And in this report, we underlined that the company had functional silos with a strong hierarchy, and the other company, Protel, which is the other group company, had Scrum teams with approximately 19 members, but they were just implementing Scrum without understanding the logic behind it. And also it was a kind of a mechanical type of implementation, and also they were facing some communication issues between the individual teams, Scrum teams, and they were not able to manage the dependencies across the individual Scrum teams. After this assessment, we took some decisions. And first of all, we decided to implement cross-functional teams. And we understood that we need to reduce the delays between the silos with the cross-functionality of these teams. And also, we decided to create smaller teams with 4 or 5 team members. And also, we decided that team must understand the logic behind the Scrum. That's why we need to apply Scrum patterns at each individual team. And one other decision was about increasing the self-management, because the teams were not able to self-manage before the transformation. And also we recognized that we had to create product owner and Scrum Master teams. In other words, Scrum of Scrums. When we look at the actions at the organizational level, our first action was to create an executive action team. We called it Agile Office, and executive action team started to act like a Scrum Master for the entire company. And they started managing the organizational impediments and transformation roadmap. Then we created both product owner and Scrum Master teams. In other words, Scrum Master cycles. That's why we distinguished what and how at the organizational level. This had a huge impact, and I will explain them in the results slides. Before that, let's look at the team level actions. As I mentioned earlier, there were big Scrum teams with approximately 9 team members, and we divided them into smaller ones with 4 or 5 team members. And each team had 2-day rollout sessions. And also, while creating these Scrum teams, we took care to create feature-based teams. In other words, previously, Scrum teams was not able to create an increment since they were just responsible for the one part of the product, like backend or frontend. We changed this and we created product-based Scrum teams. That's why they were able to generate an increment at the end of each sprint. And also the responsibility areas and also the team members of these Scrum teams were determined by the management team, but as the executive action team, we also reviewed them. So all the teams are trained, and we want them to make them internalize the Scrum soul, the logic behind the Scrum, and it was important for us they understand the logic. So we introduced all of the teams the Scrum patterns, and we wanted them to apply accordingly. And we wanted them, they understand Scrum deeply and increase their productivity. And also, when we look at the results, especially I would like to talk about the numbers. The average velocity of teams are increased 35% in 3 months. And also the production bugs are decreased 27% when you compare it with the numbers of 6 months earlier. And also, when you look at the business results, the team was able to make 3 new deals after the first 2 sprints. This was a really important result. And also, the main outcome was the increasing market share by 3%. This was a real turning point for this company. Thank you for listening. Thanks a lot.